Hello and welcome back to We the People. Such a great segment with Tamina Watson, and I always appreciate her vast expertise in not only immigration as it affects the economy, and her expertise in assisting these high level employees with their visas and employers hiring, but also her viewpoints in how we, the people, how we all can do better, what we can do by joining our voices together and ensuring some positive movements. And I, for one, implore all of you, talk to your congressional representatives, your senators, and say, let's just do one issue bills. Forget these 1,500 page bills. Let's focus on one issue at a time, because the reality is having these extreme pendulum swings that we are seeing now is not doing us any good. It is not, as a country, as the for the people, it is not doing us a good. Because what we saw in the administration of the last administration, the Biden administration, there was an extreme push towards a very progressive, very woke, very leftist ideology that was crammed down our throats. And they were doing everything, again, through executive order to bypass the congressional legislative body. And remember, like from our last show, we have a three ring, and it is a three-ring circus currently, but we have three equal branches of the government that are supposed to be the checks and balances. But legislatively, Congress has the right to enact a bill, debate that bill, and then either pass it or not, just like the Schoolhouse Rock cartoon taught us when we were little. So why am I bringing this up? Because what we're seeing is so we just had the pendulum way up here in the left, and now it's swing so far. I don't even know if it's right anymore, but it's so far out there, and it's another extremist wave. And the reality is that these extremes, these things like this total anti-immigration thing, like revoking visas and green cards. And yes, Marco, I know that a green card is still a permission to stay in this nation in a way, because you still have to abide by the laws and stuff. And I'm not saying that people who have broken the law should not reap the accountability from that. But what I'm saying is we need to inject some common sense, because we are right now so far extreme that our economy, look at all these tariffs. Again, I'm not an economist. However, I don't see why a reciprocal tariff is a bad thing. If American exports are being taxed at 10%, why shouldn't we be able to do the same? But what we have is an extremism that's taken over. So what it is that you have this small minority making all of the decisions. And yes, I will give it up to Trump that he did create a movement, but that movement alone was not what won him the election. It was his ability to build a coalition so that independents and Republicans that were somewhat on the fence, and also those Democrats that felt disenfranchised, came and were able to vote for him. And it is up to him to continue that collaboration and that coalition. So these extremes are hurting us. They are not helping us, because the bottom line is, unless you have a successor that wins the presidency, that, sorry, Donald, you're not getting a third term. It has already been set. He's terming out. This is his second term. So unless the Republicans win the seat, the White House again, the presidency again, and that president is also in lockstep with what Trump has created and continues this extremism, it's still going to shift. I mean, we saw that. We saw that when Biden came into the administration, when he won the presidency and got into the White House, he was revoking everything Trump did and then he was going with his own executive orders. And then what happened? The pendulum swung over here, and Trump is, voiding out everything Biden did. We can't have this. We need common sense. And when I see this, when I see these extremes, this isn't representative of the entire United States of America. Because the reality is that the vast majority of us are somewhere comfortably in this center, right? And not dead center, but we'll swing a little left, we'll swing a right. But ultimately, what we want is what is best for our families, our communities, and our country, and how to thrive, how to be stable. I mean, it is enough with the whole. I was at an event. I was actually at a kickoff for Byron Donalds, for Florida State Governor, and it was his kickoff to his campaign. And there were people protesting, and it was across the street. And personally, I wanted to go across the street and tell them, like, maybe they should focus on one or two issues, maybe three, because their messaging was all over. But, one lady, I caught her eye, she caught my eye, and was very pleasant afterwards. I saw her and we talked a bit. And that's what that is how we're supposed to be. We don't hate our neighbors. We shouldn't hate our neighbors because they are of a different party. And I love seeing what is happening in some non-mainstream media. So I have stated before, I am a fan of News Nation. And the reason why I'm a fan of News Nation is because they seem to bring voices from different sides. I mean, you have Bill O'Reilly, um, Chris Cuomo, Geraldo Rivera, even though sometimes I tend to yell at the TV when he's on. But that's me. I like the fact that they bring in these voices, and I think that's what we need more of because so often, especially with the legacy media, the MSNBCs, the CNNs and Fox News and News Nation, it's siloed. They're speaking to their base. And what we need to do is figure out how to get out of this extremism, this fear mongering, this expansion into somewhat crazyville on both sides. I have criticized the heck out of what was going on in the administration last time, and I will criticize if I see things that are so extreme and not what makes common sense. But the bottom line is we have to have the legislature step up. And part of what we are seeing, the issue we have been seeing now for nearly 20 years is a legislature that seems to think it's more important to win for the sake of winning because of the party or the position than actually working together. And that's not what it was about. We're supposed to be working together. We're supposed to have collaborative efforts made for the best interest of the United States of America, for the best interest of the citizens, not just one party or one viewpoint. And you may be asking, well, Alina, why are you going off on this extremist? Because I had hope. I had hope that with the introduction and the joining of Tulsi Gabbard, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., having, Elon Musk, who was a registered Democrat, and I will talk about Musk and his impersonation of the Koch brothers, basically, and throwing money at elections. But it's time for us to stop doing so extremes. We need to come back to a common sense type of governance and leadership. And it's not shoving things down our throats because we, the people, are the ones who are going to ultimately pay for it. We, the people, are the ones who are standing here scratching our heads going, okay, our gas is going up. Our prices at the grocery stores are going up. We have the government senators going on and on for 25 plus hours so he can break a record over what? It wasn't even a filibuster. It was not even a filibuster because there was no bill. Because, hey, do your damn job. Create a bill, make it single, go in there, actually build a collaboration because we, the people, will find more in common. 70% of the people plus 70% plus have stated we want secured borders. We are now getting that. We do not need for there to be this visceral hate among conservatives and liberals, because the reality is even in your family, I know in my family, I got staunch red, I got staunch blue, and guess what? We can still come together as a family and say, you know what? That's interesting. Or we basically say, you know what? We are not going to agree on this. And rather get into a heated discussion or argument, let's just agree to disagree and separate and not discuss this topic. And it happens. It even happens like, say, I am Coral and I have my father who is deep maroon red. There are times where I'll look at him, I'm like, you know what? I love you, Poppy, but this is something that it's best that we not talk about this anymore and just agree to disagree, or agree that you have your stance, which I respect, and I have my stance, which you respect. And that's how it goes. Because as an attorney, I can tell you, I have gone into mediations where parents are so far apart, or spouses, and it's going to be like it's their way or the highway. And that's not how it is. Because I'm going to tell you right now, nobody wins 100% of the time. You have to come together. And when it comes to our Congress, when it comes to our White House, we need them to start working together. And surprisingly, you will find if you sit down at the table and go, okay, let's start on where can we agree? And then little by little, you will see that there's more things in common than there are apart. And then, okay, let's see how we can collaborate. I'm going to talk about more of this in our next segment, and we're going to cut for a quick break. But I want you to think about that. When you look at your neighbor who may be a Democrat, or your neighbor who may have that MAGA hat, think about, you know what? What do we have in common? What is it that we have alike? And how can we demand more of our so-called leaders to start thinking about the commonality and how we can work together? We're going to take a quick break and we're going to discuss how we have great examples of people coming together.